All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening at our required community meeting for rezoning petition 2024-125. My name is Nolan Groce, and I'm with Urban Design Partners representing Tay Holdings LLC on Cedar Mill Towns. On your screen, there's an image of the site as it exists off of Sonoma Valley. This petition is a conditional rezoning petition that has been filed with the City of Charlotte Planning Department requesting the N2A zoning district for the development of a townhome community. During the presentation, please use the chat box feature to ask questions. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer any questions that have been asked in the chat box and then open the floor for attendees to come off mute and provide additional feedback. Here's an aerial of the 8.8 acre site located off of Interstate 485 and NC 27. Some additional aerial imagery of our site from earlier this year. Again, it's located north of Mount Holly Road, to the south of Stone Ridge Drive, and west of Sonoma Valley Drive. Here's the latest aerial imagery that we have of the site. It's mostly a wooded site, abutting the Westgate Landing apartment complex, which you can see is under construction, Pine Island, and Cedar Mill to the east. So what is zoning? What are we doing this evening? Having a community meeting. What are we getting ready to talk about? What are all of these classifications or zoning districts? So zoning is the city's method of classifying land by usage. It promotes development in a smart, reliable fashion. On your screen is a chart outlining the current zoning districts in the City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance. From least intensive districts, the N1 districts, all the way up to the most intensive, the TODs, which are transit-oriented developments. In North Carolina, there are two types of rezoning petitions, what's known as a conventional rezoning petition, and what we're requesting, which is a conditional rezoning. This has a site plan associated with the petition and provides conditions above what is required by the Unified Development Ordinance. A little more background and planning related items. First is the Charlotte 2040 Comprehensive Plan. This is a living document that helps outline the character of the city of Charlotte, guiding growth and investment in the near and long term. There's also the City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance. This replaced the City of Charlotte's zoning and subdivision ordinances, consolidating the regulations that guide development in accordance with the vision of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. There's also the 2040 Policy Map. This is a future land use map identifying land uses that are most suitable for future development. The site is currently zoned MX2 INNOV, which is the innovative standards. This stems from a 2003 rezoning. In the area, there are UDO zoning districts such as N1A and N1D, as well as legacy districts that are from the zoning ordinance, which MX2 innovative is one. There's also R17 multifamily and I1, which is an industrial district. As I mentioned, the site's zoning stems from a 2003 entitlement, petition 2003-088. This was the larger rezoning, which includes the current Cedar Mill development, out parcels where the Quick Trip and McDonald's are located. Parcel D on the rezoning plan on the screen at the northern end includes part of where this site is located today. And at the time, it was approved for up to 40 townhomes. Here's the Charlotte Future 2040 policy map. Our site is identified as Neighborhood 2, which makes our request for an N2A conditional district consistent with the future land use plan. In the area, there's also Neighborhood 1 place types, manufacturing and logistics, as well as a community activity center. So there are numerous design considerations to take into account when site planning for a conditional rezoning plan, as well as a land development plan. Existing site conditions such as topography, existing foliage, and infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, the City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance, so the development regulations that will be applicable to development. Community input, like we're going to gather this evening hosting a community meeting. The 2040 plan and policy map. Existing entitlements. So what is the site currently entitled for, and what development trends and patterns do we see in the area? Pedestrian safety. So walkability, where will sidewalks be located, and connectivity both on site and to adjacent parcels? Vehicular traffic patterns, looking at where we locate both internal and external driveways, as well as green space and natural areas. So where will these be located? How much will there be? And will there be any amenities on site? Here's our rezoning site plan that has currently been filed with the City of Charlotte Planning Department. It's petition 2024-125. I'm going to jump ahead to a rendered version of our site plan, which gives you a better aesthetic of what the site could look like once developed. So as part of this rezoning petition, we are proposing up to 39 for-sale townhome dwelling units. Each 3-story unit will be rear-loaded, fronting on open space. Units will have a 2-car garage, as well as a minimum 20-foot driveway. Sidewalk connections are proposed from the front.
Rezoning.
Going to mute everyone until we get to the end. So sidewalk connections are proposed from the frontage of each unit, which will connect to an internal sidewalk along the residential alley connecting to Sonoma Valley Drive. Green area, or tree save, as it's referred to in the Unified Development Ordinance, is going to be located along the northern portion, the northern portion of the site, or as we're looking on the screen, that'll be Plan View East and along the southern portion. There's also the blue pond looking feature. That is our proposed stormwater control measure. This will catch, detain, and clean stormwater runoff before slowly releasing it back into the environment. So here we have some conceptual elevations showing the 3-story rear-loaded product. Again, each unit would have a 2-car garage and feature a variety of building materials, such as hardy plank, roof pitch variations. Here's our tentative timeline for petition 2024-125. This evening, December 5th, we're hosting our petitioner community meeting. We're anticipating to go before the Charlotte City Council at a public hearing on January 21st, 2025, which would be followed by the zoning committee, where we would receive a recommendation on the petition. That meeting will take place on February 4th of 2025, followed by a potential city council decision date of February 17th. Now, these are subject to change pending any necessary deferrals. If we need to make any modifications to the site plan or defer for additional community engagement and feedback. If that is the case, this timeline would likely shift back 1 to 2 months. That being said, we'll transition over to the question and answer portion of the presentation. My contact information is on the screen. If anyone has any questions after the meeting or would like to connect offline, feel free to send me an email or you can call me at our office. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted to our website probably first of next week. And you can find that at urbandesignpartners.com/rezoning. That being said, I'll jump back to our rendered version of the site plan. Have not seen any chat box questions, but if anyone would like to come off mute and ask any questions, feel free. I believe there's a raise your hand feature, or if anyone's already off mute, feel free to ask a question.
Looks like I am the only one that is off mute, so I will go first. First, I'd like to say thank you, Nolan, for answering my questions previously before this meeting. I reside in Cedar Mill, and this is really helpful information. But I do understand that you did say that once upon a time, 20 years ago, 21 years ago, that this was slated for 40 units. However, only last year or less, it was slated for 31 units. So you are adding more units to this area. And thank you so much for letting me know. And just to update the rest of my team that's on here, that they are removing the walking path. They did confirm that it is no longer usage of the easement. So I need to understand that the usage and amenities that will be used by these 39 units, that is 3 stories high, was supposed to be only 2 stories high, but now you're requesting 3 stories. You will still utilize our amenities. Is that correct?
It's undetermined at this time. And Jesse, thank you for your email earlier today. I appreciated you reaching out. Your questions gave me, a better idea of what the community may be looking for. So yes, the original entitlement from 2003, let me jump back. This rezoning plan from 2003 did pose parcel D with up to 40 units. In 2005, the site went through what's known as an administrative amendment. So each development area, A, B, C, and D, the residential portions of the project were allocated a certain number of units between single family detached and single family attached or townhomes. Some of Parcel D's units were reallocated to the frontage of the Cedar Mill neighborhood where the townhomes are by the clubhouse. So it reduced the developable number of units to 31. So currently 31 3-story units can be built by right.
But you're requesting 39 at 3 stories.
Correct.
Okay. So 39 units. So we're adding 1 story plus 8. And you do not know currently whether or not you will utilize our facilities and amenities, and you took away the walking path. Now, with that in mind, and one of the things that I do have to say with knowing this information, the walking path would have enabled people to walk to the pool and gym and to the park. We have 4 parking spots for the clubhouse, and we do not have any parking spots for the park. How do you propose us to handle 39 units? We'll say 2 cars per unit.
Yeah, so I'll start and say it's I believe the petitioner has had conversations obviously with the community and the HOA, and
We have a new board.
I don't believe it's been determined yet if the new proposal would fall under the master plan, the master development HOA, or if it would also have a sub HOA. So I think there's still some negotiation and some conversations that need to take place regarding how that's going to be structured and whether residents of this proposed development would be able to use those amenities or not, depending on the HOA structure, which would then ultimately tie into their HOA dues, and how they would help pay for that existing infrastructure. Um, Connectivity wise, we are providing a sidewalk internal. I know it's not connecting to this existing path, which you can see on the screen where I'm
You know
hovering
people
my
are
mouse.
not going to walk all the way around. All right. So the other thing that you and I discussed and I brought to your attention was the fact that you were under the impression that the light was, and you thought that the light was paid for. Up until about 8 months ago, I thought it was paid for as well because I was a part of that proposal and we received and worked very hard with the Northwest Community Alliance. We worked really hard on obtaining the remaining $250,000, which came from what I call the fugly buildings that are being built. That was the last remaining of the funds. However, the state and the train CSX decided that we were no longer doing a Michigan turn. So therefore, the funding that we had is no longer sufficient. Additionally, the state never thought about people walking across the street, even though pedestrians have died crossing the street to get to the bus. So therefore, I asked them to go back and to redraw this map, so we can be more careful about people crossing the street, especially since there's a bus and McDonald's and all that fun stuff. So, um, are you going to put in towards this light for the safety of the pedestrians and your residents that you are putting in since you're adding height and units?
So the height on the previous approved plans was also 3 stories. The elevations are remaining the same. And we actually, since I sent you the email response to your questions, received confirmation from Martin Brown. He's the implementation section manager with CDOT. That the signal is funded and moving forward to construction. They don't have a timeline for completion right now, because CSX has extensive work to do with their grade crossings. So I'm happy to forward that information and reach out to Martin to make sure that we're all on the same page. But
That would be
according
wonderful
to
because that's
CDOT,
not the last email that I have from them. So thank you for that information. Feel free to send it over.
yeah, I'll forward that over to you after this meeting.
Great. Well, that's good news. I mean, one day we'll get it built, but hey,
It's
we'll keep trying.
as I think we all know, road improvements can take time, and especially if there is a railroad involved. But I'm happy to send that to you, and I'm happy to help, foster or start some additional communication and coordination with city staff.
I finally sent my follow up about the pedestrian walkway today, so it actually reminded me to do that today. I'm gonna let the board who is on this call talk now. I've taken up enough of your time.
No, I appreciate your questions. Thank you for joining us this evening. I believe Pamela might have had her hand raised. Pamela or Patricia, it looks like it went away.
Yes, I'm. Hi, Nolan. This is Pam Alexander, and I'm hoping I can keep my dogs quiet while I talk. But if they start barking, I will go ahead and mute myself and just put in the chat any other questions I have. Since we were talking about the traffic light, Jesse, there is a traffic light. There is no date yet. It is to be determined in the budget, but the city has a project manager that is overseeing the traffic light at Ryan, Sonoma Valley, and Mount Holly Road. So I did see that yesterday, and I have reached out to the project manager. His name is Jimmy Ryan, to get some information on the design of that traffic light and when it's projected to be installed at that intersection, because that is a horrible intersection. And knowing that we have 39 more units coming, things are going to get really crazy right at the front of our neighborhood. Nolan, I have a question about what is the price point for these units? And will there be any type of affordable housing, affordable units allocated out of the total number of units being built?
That's a great question, Pamela, and it's very common during community meetings. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to project the price points given the amount of time that would lapse from this evening to a potential rezoning approval, and then taking the project through the construction drawing approval process, which could take 8 to 10 months. So we're looking at, maybe breaking ground and having vertical construction in another 12 to 16 months, and not knowing what the market's going to do. But what I can say is these are proposed as for sale market rate townhomes. I do not believe the intention is to build $1 million townhomes, but it is a little bit above a starter or entry level townhome. It has nice finishes and some enhanced architectural features, whether it be hardy plank, cementous stone facades, brick. Um, and the last part, the affordable part, there is not an affordable component at this time. Based on the number of units, it is difficult to include that with 39 units.
And the other question I have, and this is just based on the design. So I see the road going into the townhomes,
Yes.
but there looks like there's a dead end. Is there going to be another road or cut through so that people coming in have another way out? And if not, how will emergency vehicles get in and out of that, out of those units or that area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's not a cul-de-sac on this development. Instead, what we're utilizing is this hammerhead turnaround. So the emergency access vehicles will come down Sonoma Valley Drive, enter the site, and then when they got to the end, if they needed to turn around, they would utilize this T-turn, which is designed to City of Charlotte land development standards manual specifications to ensure that a large fire truck could make that movement. But there is not an additional access. There's existing single family homes to the plan east, and there's significant topography to the plan south, where the existing trail is.
Okay, so it looks like there's going to be a tree save area right there in front of the current walking trail we have. Am I seeing that correctly?
You are. So all of
Okay,
this hatched area is proposed green area, which is how it's termed in the Unified Development Ordinance, but that is tree save. The
okay.
majority of the site will remain natural and wooded. I believe we should have the ability to keep this as a low density option, which means less than 24% built upon area. So yes, the majority of the site will remain natural and wooded as it exists today.
Okay, so I'm thinking that's going to probably camouflage the height of the 3-story units since they will be sitting a little high. I think that's some of, and Jesse, you can tell me if I'm correct on that or if I'm wrong. But the 3-story units are going to be sitting up a little high compared to the other townhome units, which are directly across the street. So would that tree save area sort of camouflage that or not?
Yeah, it would definitely help act as a natural buffer. And there are a lot of large mature trees
Mhm.
existing on site. And it may be helpful, in the next few weeks, in the coming month, if needed, we could prepare a sightline exhibit. So basically, if you can see my mouse on the screen, there's these existing homes behind the stormwater pond. We could
Mhm.
take their elevation and do a sightline study to see, based on this existing foliage, what the elevation change is from the single family homes to the townhomes, and then look at the existing trees and see how they're going to impede that sight line and act as a barrier.
Okay. The only other thing that I would be a little concerned about, I guess, just listening to Jesse and also acknowledging some of the questions and the answers that were provided in your response earlier today is I don't see any amenities for these townhomes, like a pool or clubhouse. So I'm thinking, since we don't know right now, it's an unknown whether or not the residents would be actually utilizing our pool and clubhouse. Um, I'm just a little, sort of have some information about that and how would that all be negotiated? Have the developer spoken with the HOA or the property management for our community? Have they spoken with anyone about, the future plans or potential plans?
My understanding is yes, that he has had contact with the property manager, as well as the HOA and the HOA's attorney to start looking at how some of that works. But of course, as I get more information, I'll definitely pass that along. Whether this is a built in conjunction with the existing community, or it would serve and act as more of a standalone project.
Right. And so I will say this, Nolan, is that I'm on the board and the board members are here, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Bellinger. And we have not heard anything about this from the property management, which that's all they are really for our HOA, is the property manager, management company for our community. So we don't have any knowledge. And when you're speaking about the day that has been talking with, I'm assuming Nicole or either Lily at Century Management and their attorney, who is they?
I, I
Is
don't
that the
have my
owner?
email. Yeah, so I can pull it up. I found some emails in my inbox. They were project emails, but I don't have that in front of me. I only have two monitors up right now, and it's all Zoom and PowerPoint. But I can look into that and see who has been contacted and follow
Mhm.
up with you offline.
Okay, and I would just appreciate it if you could add us in on any conversations with the owner, if that's who's been conversating with the property manager and the attorney. If they could give us a call, bring us up to snuff on conversations, just so we are aware of the plans that are going along with this proposed property that's coming up for rezoning. So just so we have some background knowledge, it's alarming that we hadn't been included. And since we become board members, this was not mentioned to us by the property management who we've hired for the Cedar Mill community.
Sure, of
Thank
course.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I have a question, given that the board's online and when we're discussing the HOA matter, and this can be very high level, just one way or the other. Do you have a preference? Would you rather see this be a part of the Cedar Mill development, paying in to the HOA,
No,
utilizing the amenities, or the opposite? Would you rather have this as a standalone community with its own HOA? I'm just curious.
Hey, Nolan, my name is Keith Bellinger, and I'm the current president of the Cedar Mill Homeowners Association. And I think this is over my head. This is the first I've heard about this or saw these things, and not to commit any answers or any ideas or anything like that. This is good for informational purposes. But I think the next step going forward would be to, I can give you a contact, but would be to contact our property management company and our portfolio manager through Century Management and then have communications going through that way. And then connect with the board of the Cedar Mill Association and then have more conversations to what the possibilities are, the benefits or the disadvantages, and we can go from there.
Sure. No, that sounds great. I appreciate that.
Do you have a contact that I can give you? Her name is Lily Vilchaz, who is our property portfolio manager. Do you have that anywhere?
Give me just one moment. Let me see if I can pull up my email without crashing everything that I have open.
I think he's been, Keith, I think they've been working with Nicole,
They
not Lily.
Well,
they
either way,
have,
I just want to cut this short because I'm not going to be able to stay long. But whoever you're working, I'm going to give you her name, and then
Okay.
between the two, that can start the channel of communication, and maybe we have a sit down meeting or some type of meeting like this again.
Sure.
Once we can organize and get more information. But her name is Lily Vilchaz.
Okay.
Her number is 704-892-1660.
Okay.
And this is Century Management. And our HOA attorney is also will be represented through that contact as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that, Keith.
Yeah, so I look forward to, so you're representing the builder of this community? Or what is your role in
Correct. So I work with Urban Design Partners. We are a civil engineering, landscape architecture, and land planning firm. I will preface and say I'm a planner. I'm not an engineer or landscape architect. I'm a land planner, and I manage our entitlement petitions, so all of our rezoning petitions. So my role is really the facilitator of this petition and working with the community, elected boards, and appointed boards. So anytime you have a question, if there's something we can provide, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay, who bought is the land, has that land been purchased? And who has purchased that land?
The current owner, it is, I believe, Cedar, it's under an LLC.
Yeah,
And our
it's
Cedar
Cedar
Mill,
Mill
one word.
Townhomes,
It's what?
Cedar Mill Townhomes, LLC,
One word,
one word.
which is using the likeness of our name. So if you do have your own HOA, they still need to chip in for those signs. I will say that. Otherwise, we're going to have that's a legal problem. But personally, I have been in a lot of rezoning meetings. So this is not the first time. So I will say, listening to the previous board discuss this from the last rezoning, I will say that we were not on board in discussing this with other people that I try to inform people about Section D, as I always like to call it. This is not something that we think is feasible due to the fact of the size of the pool and gym and amenities. This is not something that we can hold. The pool alone is not able to sustain that many units and homes. It can barely hold what we have. So the consensus overall of Cedarville is no, we do not think this is a good idea to proceed of adding these homes. However, I think once D.R. Horton sold it to whoever now owns this property, I don't think we really have a say. I do need to dig further on that. But
Yeah, I
that
think
is what I know.
I think the next course that the best course of action is the one I suggested is just open that channel through that direction, and then through there you will be able to contact us. So I'm the president of the current board. Pam is the vice president. The name Albert Jackson is there. He's the treasurer. So we will be the ones kind of coordinating and working with our property management and our HOA association attorney to kind of work through some details and share information, or you guys can share information, or however it may go. But that would open up that line of communication going forward.
Thirdly, no, we appreciate that. That's the type of information that we're looking for. We want to have a dialogue about the proposed development, and we want the community's input. So no, that's great.
Okay.
I saw one of the older maps in the last rezoned documents that was like 39 pages. And one of the ideas was to close off, and I can kind of see it in the lines in this current map where the circle is going to be fixed and not have a road going nowhere. Kind of like that idea. It would be great. It would be awesome not to have a road going nowhere. Currently, we use it for parking spots. I'm not going to lie. With that in mind, if the 39 proposed units do come to and use our amenities, would you be open to the idea of putting some parking spots there instead of closing it and opening it up to parking spaces?
I think that's definitely something we could look at. So as part of the petition, I will say we are proposing to do away with this stub road. We would go back and reconstruct it to act as a purely circular roundabout. So we would propose that modification. We are with this petition. Additional parking, I won't commit to it right now. We would need to
Of course.
look at this area and study it, look at,
Yeah.
is there enough space there that we could design parking spaces to meet the city of Charlotte standards, because they would have to approve that through the land development review process. And yeah, is there enough space with the existing topography to make that feasible? But I'm happy to look at that and let you know.
I mean, it's just, something to, because nobody is that lives over there is, as I said, going to walk all the way over there to use anything. And we only have a couple of spots. So it's just an idea. I doubt it because the river's over there, or the stream, I should say. It is a very difficult spot. Um, so I get it if you can't, but you never know. Never hurts to ask.
Of course, yeah, and you can see this hatched line as part of that buffer for the watershed for the stream.
Yeah.
So, maybe, but I'm happy to check into that.
Hey, if you could fit like even two in there, since we normally put two cars there, we would like our two spots.
Okay, okay.
I have a question, Nolan. Is there anything planned that you know of for future development on the parcel to the west of the site?
I do not know of any, no ma'am. That would be, I believe it's a commercially zoned site, dating back
Okay.
to that original entitlement, parcel E2.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can see on the screen.
I saw that it's owned by Cedar Mill Partners. So I don't know who they are either, but they own the commercial parcels out here. So the one at the back of McDonald's, and
Mhm.
then that particular parcel that I'm asking about.
Yes, and it is zoned commercial, but no, ma'am, I'm not aware of any proposed development for that site at this time. I know the Quick Trip went up, and now McDonald's is. I drive by here fairly regularly, and now the apartments doing their roadway improvements. Um, so I'm not sure. If I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Okay, I appreciate it. And what I would ask, I know Keith was only wanting the property management included, but I would ask that you include all of us, because we are the board of Cedar Mill HOA. And I would ask that we all are included on any email or communications about any further talks regarding this particular development.
Sure. Yeah, I'll definitely let the petitioner know as he continues and reaches out again to these contacts to make sure that the board's copied. And maybe we could set up a meeting in the next few months. I know things get busy around the New Year's and around the holidays, but we
Right.
definitely want the board to be informed and knowledgeable about the conversations that are taking place. So we'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, because we're the actual communication between communication between the property management and the community. And we pretty much, are the ones who are working with our homeowners, because they're the ones who voted us into place to represent our community. So I want to make sure we're being as transparent as much as possible. And that we have information up front so we can just sort of dissect and know what we need to put out to them, and make sure we're putting out, reliable and trustworthy information to our community homeowners.
Certainly, certainly. I do see a question in the chat Patricia asked earlier, and I missed it. I apologize for that. What is the expected time frame for completion? Um, so rezoning wise, this is our best case scenario timeline following the planning department's scheduling. This could shift back a month or two, depending any necessary deferrals. And, ultimately, we'll say if the petition was approved February 17th, it would then transition into land development, where we would start engineering the site. Assuming probably 3 submittals before we receive an approval, I would say, maybe 8 to 10 months for a land development approval, at which point the site grading and site work could begin. Um, Potentially that'll be 25, maybe potential construction, so grading taking place maybe at the end of 2025 or early 2026, and then which would be followed by vertical construction. So I would think by summer of 2026, going into fall of 2026, this development could be fully built.
Okay.
So I have a question. The houses that are on Stony Ridge, I know you said that all that greenway is gonna be left alone. Is it gonna be left alone, or are you guys gonna clear it all and then replant?
So the greenway right here, that's off-site for us. Our property boundaries are this line where it goes from the rendered portion to the kind of faded back aerial imagery. We're going to retain all of this area where I'm hovering my mouse as tree save, which means it will not be touched. Equipment will not go through there. Nothing will be removed or torn down. So we would not be touching the proposed, or excuse me, the existing greenway.
Okay, so base where your little arrows at, can you go up further northeast side? Right there. Okay, so all of that is not gonna be touched, correct?
Correct. That all of the existing trees there will remain.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
I have one more question, maybe two.
Okay.
The signs at the front of our community, are you all planning on having a sign at the entrance of these townhomes, or will you all use our signage pretty much to represent your community?
So it's a great question. Jesse asked something similar earlier today, and I was looking at the plats, and it appears the signage and the existing fencing is within a landscape easement,
Right.
along those commercial out parcels. So I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the original HOA documents look like pertaining to the maintenance of that. I would assume that there's some sort of master agreement where all of the parcels would need to pay into a fund to maintain that area, but I'm
And-
not certain.
Okay, and there's a declaration right now. I am waiting to receive the official copy that was stamped and registered with the Register of Deeds.
Okay.
There are there's 1, 2, and 3 at the front of the community, the signs on both sides as you enter Sonoma Valley, and then the one sign that's the tall sign down by 485. Those
Okay.
are the easement areas. And so the document does have content that speaks to how those areas are to be maintained. And if, and I guess it also talks to if they're not, who would be liable. So
Yeah, that
that's what I
information
was
is
trying to
very
figure out. Are we gonna have a bunch of signs? Like, are we gonna have the one sign going in our neighborhood, then y'all gonna have a sign going into your neighborhood? Or would this be something that we just share since it seemed like we're all named Cedar Mill?
It's also going to be 2 words, right? We're going to maintain, because I even see in your
correct.
proposal, it's 2 words, but in the rezoning and everything, it says Cedar Mill is 1 word. So
It would be 2 words. There may have been a typo not putting the space in.
Yeah,
but
it was
it would
only
be
in the owner's
consistent.
name.
Yeah, there's a lot of typos in. So, so that was other things. That's why, like, even in my email, I put Cedar Mill, one word. That was not a typo. That was done on purpose, which was really hard to do, by the way.
Understood. Um, I'll make sure to look out for that in the future.
Yeah, it looked like it's just the owner's name that has Cedar Mill as one word. So I don't,
No, it's even like Cedar Mill LLC. One word is everywhere. Just yep.
yeah, it
I
has them
was
as a
literally getting
LLC.
worried that our name was going to change to one word.
Yeah.
It could be a filing error when when the property was purchased. I've seen that happen to a myriad of developments. One letter changes or a space gets removed, and people that happens. But yes, I will make sure that at least on our plans and our correspondence, it is appropriate. It's spelled correctly.
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, even if they aren't a part of our HOA, I do feel that they need to contribute to the sign using the likeness of our names, just the legality of it.
Yeah, and it's the frontage to the development. I mean,
Correct.
Mhm.
I can imagine, anyone living in this proposed development would want to upkeep that and make it look nice. They may
Right.
want to propose a sign near the driveway on this property, but of course, the frontage needs to be well maintained.
Right. And that's, also that's a part of that, it's the commercial area because all along there, we have to do landscaping.
Mhm.
So, the commercial QT and McDonald's also has to maintain the front area of our communities.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure there would be, something similar that they had to go through documentation wise to ensure they're paying their fair portion to make sure
right.
that
And yeah, and it's in the agreement or in the declaration. So we just all need to have our hands on a copy of that.
yes, ma'am. If you wouldn't mind sharing that when you receive a copy, that would be fantastic.
No problem. I sure will.
Thank you. Check my chat. Does anyone else have any questions, any thoughts, any comments?
No, I think well, I'm fine at this point. It just seemed like I guess it's in the beginning stages right now.
That's right.
Um,
We're early in the process, and that's why the community meetings are held kind of on the front end, so we can get all of this feedback before we're months into the process.
okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Like I said, my main thing is just making sure we're kept in the loop when communication is going on, and I would definitely appreciate if you could have a meeting just to bring our board up to snuff so we can share this information with our community.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to have additional meetings with the board and with the community at large as need be, whether that's setting up an additional virtual meeting or if that's something in person, on site at a facility. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Nolan.
You're very welcome. I'll go ahead and display my contact information again. I believe most of you have my email address, but if not, feel free to reach out to me. Call me. I'm happy to talk to you offline, talk to you in the future. Again, this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on our website at urbandesignpartners.com/rezoning. So if there's no further questions, I'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned and let everyone get back to enjoying their evening. I really appreciate you joining the call and providing such great feedback. This has been a very good meeting. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Nolan.
Thank you, Nolan. We appreciate you as well,
Thank
and we
you.
look forward to working with you in the future.
Likewise. Have a good evening,
All
everyone.
right,
Take care.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.